The only time most people think to do the math is when they're looking at bills. If you're anything like me, it's only if you're short or close to it that you're thinking about double checking. And here's a hint, you shouldn't be waiting till the account's empty or the bill's overdue to start looking. Why let it get so bad in the house that the tension is palpable even when you guys aren't speaking about numbers? What if you had learned earlier in life to enjoy math? I bet you'd start plugging all your life's inputs, your habits, your spending, your actions, and start anticipating the bill before it came due. The same way we spoke about using a level, check your perspective, using a notepad to keep you accountable. The tool of this week is a calculator, truly impartial, no judgment. It simply adds or multiplies, producing an answer based on the inputs that you punch in. And much how life works. It's very rare that you can punch in confusion, chaos, and bad habits and end up with a life of peace, freedom, and overflow. It doesn't really add up. When you get clear and honest about what's coming in and how that leads to what's going out, you can start making better decisions. Out in the field, I've had to do load calculations. I had to check resistance on windings to see if the motor was shot. And normally there's a lot of pressure because you're trying to keep the lights on, you're trying to get the lights back on. There might be supervisors looking at you. The pressure, the circumstances, they don't change the math I gotta do. They don't change the work I have to do. They might ramp it up, but I still gotta do the same math. I have to look at what I have for the parts of my equation. I have to figure out what my desired outcome is, and then I gotta figure out how I bridge the gap. Otherwise, I'll end up with the wrong result. Financially, if you're in dire straits, the paycheck isn't necessarily the problem. Habits normally are. The issue, most likely, is the pattern of spending we have when the paycheck comes in. It's never as cut and dry as just one thing. We might not have even sat down recently to figure out where the money coming in should be spent, so it's just being wasted. Whatever you don't track, you can easily lose track of. I know earlier last year when we were struggling in my household trying to make sure the bills were getting paid, we had to take a moment and sit down and just write it back out again. You know, we hadn't done it in a little bit. And what happened was we sat down and we put it on paper. And seeing all that additional red that wasn't there, whatever, a year and a half prior to, it hurt. But that moment changed everything for the better. Because once you see it for what it is, you can start making better decisions. You stop lying to yourself, you stop blaming others and blaming the circumstance, and you start taking control of your circumstances. And you start building towards your desired result by changing yourself, by changing your inputs. And that's what we did. We got back on our budget, we did it together, we stuck to it. It worked. Whoever thought that using the actual numbers, keeping our plans for savings and giving, and then sticking to it would have actually led to the result that we wanted. All I'm saying is, with intentionality, even if you don't have a perfect plan, if you have consistency following that plan, you're going to start trending in the direction that you're working towards. And progress is progress, so you got to count it. Remember, every journey starts with a step, and you got to start stepping if you want to make it to your end point. It can be difficult when you go to start sitting down and looking at that ledger and starting to do math, especially when it comes to more abstract things that aren't money. You know, you can count $1, $2, $3, $4, $5 bills, but can you easily count the number of habits that you wanted to adjust over the years? You know, the Bible says, for which of you desiring to build a tower doesn't sit down first and count the cost? Pretty sure that's how to loot. Carpenters say, measure twice and cut once. You get the same principle from secular and faith-based sources. You know, don't start building until you run the numbers. Don't start building without a plan. If you're trying to build a new foundation, I highly recommend following the tenets that are laid out by Christianity, but the major religions, because a lot of them have the similar source, and they have a lot of principles about stewardship, honesty, avoiding debt, truths that can guide your inputs before you even start calculating the outcome, before you even make the decision to make the initial action that leads to the input. Build that foundation with good bricks, and the house can't help but be good. You know what I mean? So here's your challenge for this week to try to get this tool part of your daily habits. You're going to choose something to track. For simplicity, it can be financial. If you want to track bills, eating out expenses, food, obviously. Whatever it might be that is weighing on your mind, something that's already important to you, make it be real. If it's a habit, even better. That'll be a good baseline for when we move forward into the next week's homework assignments. Be it a good thing that you want to continue or a bad thing that you want to eliminate. The goal is, once you've chosen it, choose your notebook, write it down, track it, all the inputs that go towards what it is that you're tracking. If it's a habit, if it's a health habit, you're talking about working out and eating. You're talking about getting your proper sleep as well. Whatever goes towards what you're tracking, write it down in your notebook. Do it on a daily basis. Keep yourself honest. And I think you'll understand once you look at it on the back end, but whatever output you got towards your goal for that week is going to be directly correlated to the inputs that you were tracking throughout the week. And the goal is you'll be able to see for yourself that if you start controlling those inputs, your outputs will change. No lying to yourself, no judging yourself, just track. Once the data is honestly tracked, then the plan can be real. And I'm looking forward to setting up some real plans with you guys moving forward. Remember this, calculators, they don't lie. They just give you an answer based off the inputs that you put into them. Life works the same way. You can't fake inputs and expect a result based off what you fake. If you're tired of the same outcomes, change the variables. Change what you feed your mind, your body, your wallet, your relationships, and you will change what those things feed you in return. This week's tool isn't about becoming obsessed with numbers. It's about getting honest with what numbers add up to, just so you have understanding. If you guys want the full list of tools, more tools like this, like and follow, check the link in the bio for the full guide. And I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Peace.